Hey, what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and I got a brand new video for you. Welcome to part 14 of What If Deku Had Full Counter. Please sit back and relax because you're in for a treat. With that out of the way, let's get the story going, shall we? The number 2 hero hoped he didn't look as tired or anxious as he felt. Endeavor was one of the heroes that were going to work on hunting down the League and saving his son. He was absolutely horrified when he heard the news, and he had no idea how Hisashi was dealing with this. As far as he knew, Kiyo wasn't going to be making an appearance at this meeting. Enji wished he was, though. Endeavor absent-mindedly entered the elevator. As the door closed, a large hand got in the way. It was All Might. Endeavor didn't realize his rival would be at the meeting too, but it made sense. The ride was silent until a certain smell hit Endeavor's nose. It was a scent he was familiar with, but he was rather confused as to why it lingered on the symbol of peace. You don't have to worry, Endeavor. We'll get him back. I know we will. By the way, how long have you been seeing my cousin? I don't know what you mean. Don't act dumb. Hisashi has been using the same aftershave since middle school, and I recognize that smell of his cigarettes anywhere. What's going on? I've been keeping him company ever since the summer camp started. It didn't feel right to leave him alone to worry about young Midoriya. Endeavor nodded, understanding why his cousin would need the support. Is this the part where you threaten my life if I hurt Hisashi? No, I wasn't considering it. However, I will give you this warning. If you hurt Hisashi or betray him in any way, he'll destroy himself in an attempt to banish you from his memory. And it'll be up to me and the few people he keeps close to put him back together. There was an expression of fear in All Might's eyes that the Flame Hero hadn't seen before. A few pro heroes were already present when All Might and Endeavor entered the meeting room. Gran Torino was present, as well as Best Jeanist, Headshot, and Kamui Woods. Tiger, of course, was there, as well as Gang Orca, Midnight, and Eraserhead. Police officers were also seated at the table. Well, it seems everyone's here, Gran Torino spoke. Not quite, sir. Detective Tsukauchi said he has an informant he'd like to be part of this. He should be on his way, a cop said. Well, the whippersnapper's late. We're starting without him. The meeting was going nowhere fast. Without having any idea as to where the League's base was, they couldn't exactly form a plan of attack or extraction. They were starting to debate whether or not they should involve Sir Night-Eye in the planning phases before the door opened unceremoniously. Sorry I'm late. I was finishing the repairs on my bat. Everything went still as all eyes landed on the criminal informant, Maza. Jeanist was the first to act, binding the gangster in his own clothes with his quirk. Headshot rushed in to knock out the criminal when Endeavor stopped the ninja hero. Maza's not our enemy. He's Kiyo, and Maza is a persona he made up so he can do some undercover work. It's a persona I thought he retired for good. I had to keep you in the dark, Pompiere. I couldn't risk you giving me away if we were to ever clash. Now, Arme Miliori. Let's get to the brass tacks. The entire meeting, All Might kept glancing at Maza. There was only one moment when the masked man let his eyes meet the number 1 hero's. Maza's eyes were hard and stern, the eyes of a cold-blooded villain. As the pro heroes planned with their unlikely ally, a few UA students were making their own plans. Thanks to Yayarose's tracking device on one of the Nomu, she could find the creature's location. Izuku and Bakugo were ready to bash some skulls to save their friend, and Kirishima would be there to back them up. Ida was joining them to prevent them from being needlessly reckless. Yayarozu was going as well, since it was her tracker. A surprise addition to the team was Shinzo. He overheard their conversation. The ragtag team of 5 initially thought they were gonna get ratted out until the Insomniac asked to join. It was either that or he'd tell All Might everything. A simple ultimatum, and, well, they only had one choice. Hisashi sat alone in his home that night. Izuku was staying at Bakugo's place, claiming he wanted to keep his friend company after such a traumatic event. Though hesitant, the fire breather allowed it. That was why he found it odd to hear knocking on his door at such an hour. It was Yagi on the other side, his expression uncharacteristically stern. I figured you'd be around sooner or later. Come in. The older blonde was led to the living room as the single father prepared some tea. The silence was suffocating as Hizashi mentally begged for the water to boil faster. Granted, there was no real point in delaying. I know that stare well, Nori. The glare of a disappointed and ashamed authority figure. I've gotten those eyes from Uncle Azulon practically every day, and from Enji a handful of times. Sitting on the counter, Hizashi looked at his friend. He felt so small as Yagi's blue eyes bore into his soul. How was I supposed to bring up Maza? Just casually go up to you and say, "Hey, Mighty, some of my after-work hobbies consist of endlessly searching for a possibly dead nephew and dressing like a Italian mobster as a mole for the cops." I don't know where to start. I hear the beginning is a good place to start. The kettle singing staved off the quiet. Chamomile tea was made as Hizashi braced himself for his heart-to-heart. My parents were Ninsho and Seiba Hanzai, drug runners for the Shiei Hasaikai. I don't know how long they were bedded with those gangsters before I was born, but I couldn't care less. Know that you have the prologue. Time for a story. It was around when I got my Shiketsu acceptance letter. Uncle Azulon tore me a new one for not even applying to UA. I stormed out halfway through to blow off some steam by starting a bar fight. As fate would have it, I had smashed a whiskey bottle over the head of my father. I feared for my life when he looked at me, but he embraced me like a prodigal son returning home. He took me to a back room where my mother was talking to the boss of the Shiei Hasaikai. My parents started to talk me up, saying how strong I was and how powerful my quirk was and how much of an asset I would be. The boss asked me if I wanted to join them. I showed them my acceptance letter and told them I planned to become a hero, and once I had my license, I would personally see to it that my parents and the Shiei Hasaikai were behind bars. That was the start of my journey to become a hero, and subconsciously, the start of the Maza persona. I wanted to make sure that I had a way to keep an eye on the criminal underworld, even if it required some lawless and undercover acts. I learned how things worked by using the connection to my parents as leverage. I guess, deep down, being a criminal is in my blood. Well, damn. Did you ever catch them? Your folks, I mean. I didn't hear anything about the arrests of Shiei Hasaikai drug runners by the name of Hanzai. I never got the chance. Their bodies were found in a river with bullets between their eyes. I was 19. How much does young Midoriya know? He doesn't know what fraction his grandparents were part of. I haven't told him about my other job either. I'd like to keep it that way. He deserves to know. I know! I know. Unsure how to move forward, the two men sat in silence. Their tea had grown cold. Dabi wasn't sure who they were waiting for or why they were taking so long, but he did know that he was tired of being in a dusty, abandoned apartment complex, and he was tired of losing Go Fish to Compress. Toga was playing with her knives. Spinner had been showing her some tricks, and she was getting pretty good. All the scarred man knew about the person Jiran was bringing was he had an interest in becoming a supporter of the League. He also suspected this was an excellent way to keep Toga away from Todoroki. The psychotic blonde thought the half-and-half teen was cute, and she really wanted to make him bleed. The thought of his kid brother being left alone with any of the League's psychos put knots in Dabi's stomach. He wasn't sure why that feeling wasn't going away. After what seemed like hours, Jiran stepped into the room with a well-dressed man who had a sack over his head. The sack was removed with a flourish to reveal the masked face of Maza the informant. There was a mix of confusion, curiosity, and a bit of caution among the League members. Maza bowed respectfully to his potential allies. Dabi was eyeing the bat in the gangster's left hand. Good evening, Signorina and Signori. I'm honored that you've agreed to meet with me. You honor us as well. The rumors I heard about you have certainly intrigued me. Now, what is it you have to offer the League? Compress asked. The mobster's eyes studied the three League members before him, holding on to the scarred young man for an extra moment. Dabi met his glare before Maza cleared his throat and addressed Compress. I've heard much of your organization as well. Your group is making a lot of moves, and I believe you would benefit from what I can provide. Certain accessories like quirk-enhancing drugs, as well as information. All I ask in return is some protection when your plans succeed. Yeah, that's cool and all, but what can you do? What's your quirk? Toga asked. I have no quirk, but I am quite skilled. Some even call me deathly. Take his word for it. I've seen firsthand what this man can do with his bat. He's very efficient. Jiren smirked. It's okay, Jiren. But perhaps the kids need a demonstration on how the Mafia kicked it old school. The only kid here is Blondie over there. Hey! But a demonstration might sway our thoughts. Are you sure you want to play with fire, old man? Familiar blue flames danced in Dabi's hand. Maza visibly flinched before meeting his opponent halfway. Dabi was smiling as a million memories distracted the informant. It's my favorite pastime, Fennis. Batter up! The mobster ran at his opponent. Dabi blocked the incoming swing before striking back. Flames illuminated the reflective black mask as Maza struck fast and hard, throwing Dabi off balance. A sense of nostalgia washed over Dabi as he fought. The flameless warmth that welled in the young man's chest became a distraction. Maza was gaining the upper hand, driving the bat into Dabi's knee and sending him to the ground. Now it was Toga's time to shine. Wielding her knives, she ran at the older man. Despite the hacking and slashing, Maza danced around her attacks. Her movements were quick and precise, but very easy to read. The young villainess was quickly disarmed and tossed aside. You want to turn, Magic Man? I think I've seen enough, and I believe my compatriots now understand the importance of experience. I agree. Experience outranks everything. So what is the League's willing to give me in exchange for info and accessories? We can offer money, of course, depending on how much you impress our boss. We can lend you some of our members, or Nomo, if you have a need for them. I can get behind that. However, I've heard rumors about your most recent exploits. Is it true that your League attacked a camp of high schoolers and kidnapped one of them? Whether or not it's true, why should it matter to you? I'm sure you've aided worse people. The air around Maza became chilled as he became quite serious. Those who know me will tell you I have one line I never cross. Never deceive, bribe, or otherwise force children into criminal acts. To harm children for personal gain is something I will never stand alongside. I trust my source's claims. So, lie to me at your own risk. Is your captive hurt in any form? Well, the boy was unharmed, last I knew. Hopefully Muscular has been kept on a short leash since his screw-up. The villain's name was very familiar. Maza was fuming. I understand. If you have any intent on hurting that boy, whether it's to gain information or force him to join your little club, then I have the pleasure of having me as your enemy. Then we have nothing more to discuss. A dark vortex appeared behind the villains. Compress and Toga walked through, while Dabi stayed behind, stating that he would take the scenic route back. Maza knew this would be a great opportunity to tail the young man, but the mobster felt tentative and distracted. Leave, Giran. We've got a few words for Maza. Fine by me. Something tells me I don't want to be here for this next part. Now left alone, Dabi stared down Maza. The gangster's body language no longer gave off the righteous fury he displayed before. It's like a mask had fallen, and he became a completely different person. I heard rumors from Meishu's gang that you were looking for me. Why? I was hired to find you some handful of years ago. I could tell you that my client was desperate and was willing to do anything to bring you home, safe and sound. I can't go back. Not after all I've done. I'm sure my client would disagree. He seems like a stubborn idiot. Well, at least I can tell him you're alive. I'll see myself out. Heading for the door, Maza turned his back to Dabi. This was a calculated risk, as Dabi threw a fireball past the gangster's head. Dabi clearly saw that Maza didn't flinch in the slightest, despite seemingly being afraid of the flames earlier. When you see him again, tell him to stop looking. The person he's trying to find is dead. People coming back from the dead is a bit of a theme lately. I'm sure he wouldn't mind seeing you, zombie or not. Maza left the complex. Dabi was alone with his memories. He fell to his knees, gasping sobs escaping his mouth. Ever since he burned away his tear ducts, he never felt the need to cry. Not until now, at least. This video is sponsored by GRUBHUB. With more than 3,000 store locations, GRUBHUB offers on-demand convenience delivery across the country. You can search for restaurants by cuisine or location, quickly order food from the menu, and track your order from the app, all hassle-free and without any extra charges. GRUBHUB charges less than any other food delivery services, allowing you to get the best value for your money. With GRUBHUB Plus, you can get free delivery prices for 10 meals every month on orders of $12 or more for only $9.99 a month. That's not all. You can use the code AFF25 to save 25% off your first mobile order of $15 or more. This code is for a limited time, so again, get 25% off your first mobile order of $15 or more now if you use the code AFF25. That's AFF25. Check the link in the description. Thanks again for GRUBHUB for sponsoring this video. Yitsuma was concerned for her fiery companion. Dabi had been acting strangely since he and the others returned. Compress explained what happened, but the psychic woman didn't understand why Dabi seemed so distracted. However, this wasn't where Yitsuma's focus needed to be. The League had been trying to persuade young Shoto Todoroki to join the villains. When that wasn't working, Shigaraki tried to get information out of the high schooler. Things weren't exactly going the villain's way. It might have been this paralytic venom they put in Todoroki's system, both making it difficult to move and use his quirk. Or maybe it was Yitsuma's tresses around his neck that were making him apprehensive to talk. And what makes you so confident that I know anything useful, or that I'd ever tell any of it? Todoroki asked. I'm sure we can persuade you. With what? More bribes? I was thinking more like torture. Toga, Spinner. Yay, I get to play with you! I'm gonna have so much fun even if I have to share you with Spinner. I'm gonna make you my sweet candy cane cutie. Spinner rolled his eyes as he drew his sword. The two blade wielders approached Shoto, who began to realize how much trouble he was in. The venom in his veins robbed Todoroki of his strength, and the pink hair around his neck wasn't giving him any confidence. He was going to die. Dabi grabbed Spinner by the scarf and threw him into the bar. Grabbing her by her hair buns, Dabi drove his knee into Toga's face. The blonde's nose bled as the scarred man booted her away. Yitsuma couldn't believe what she saw. Blue flames were aimed at the floating woman. Remove yourself from him, witch. I don't like the smell of burnt hair. You mean to betray us, Dabi? I've been waiting for an excuse to break you, Muscular yelled out. Just hang on a sec and hear me out. This is one of number 2 hero's sons. Even if we get anything useful from him directly, we can ransom him off. And it'll be easier to do that if we don't shank him to death. Hushed murmurs were shared amongst the League as Dabi began to sweat. Although now tense from the pyrokinetic man, the villains left Shoto alone, leaving Dabi to guard him. Thanks? Don't thank me. You're just more valuable to us unharmed. Besides, it's not like Endeavor will actually give up anything to save you. I hate to say it, but he's actually becoming a better person. Going to therapy, trying to get to know his kids, and being open about his own past trauma with Grandfather Azulon. He still has a long way to go before me and my brother can forgive him, but I can see the effort he's putting in. Why are you telling me this? I don't know. Dabi and Shoto existed in their unpleasant silence. There was a knock on the bar's door, and the voice of a pizza delivery guy. Kyo watched as the tall Mount Lady caved in the roof of the Nomu storage building. This is where Yayarozu's tracker led the hero team. The team consisted of Gang Orca, Mount Lady, Best Genus, Tiger, Midnight, and Kiyo. Stay sharp, everyone. We don't know what's lurking in there. Loosen up, handsome. This has been a breeze so far, Mountain Lady said. Midnight glared at the younger heroine. The entire mission she had been flirting with the Spitfire and was getting under the UA teacher's skin. Mountain Lady might have been an up-and-coming hero, but she could still act somewhat professional while on a mission. Sometimes we must let go of our pride and do what is requested of us, kiddo. This could be the calm before the storm. Kiyo's right. We must stay alert, Genus said. You old men are just paranoid, Mountain Lady joked. The heroes entered the facility, seeing tanks holding the monstrous Nomu. They split up into smaller teams to investigate. Kiyo went off on his own towards one of the tanks. Midnight noticed the pained expression on the Spitfire's face. Stare any harder and you'll bore a hole through the glass. Midnight, I was just... Tsukauchi's team confirmed that the Nomu are modified humans with multiple quirks forced into them. Because their bodies can't handle all those quirks, they end up, well, like this. Midnight examined the creature in the tank. It looked like something she'd find in a horror film. But the R-rated hero could tell that Kiyo wanted to save these victims too. I'm guessing Tsukauchi got his info thanks to Maza? Kiyo's gaze moved to Midnight. I can't say, I never met Maza. Of course. Either way, your Italian is really good. I tried to learn the language, but I can never stick with it. Well, I could teach you some phrases, maybe over coffee sometime. Are you asking me out? I guess so, as unprofessional as it is. Endeavor's been saying I should try dating again, and All might mention that you've been talking about me. Our age gap is a bit more than what I'm used to, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I do find you beautiful, especially your eyes. They remind me of aquamarines. A blush appeared on Midnight's face. She'd been complimented on her body before, but they were always lewd. No one's ever described her eyes like that. The student rescue team was watching the pros from behind a wall. Shinzo could easily read their lips from his vantage point. He couldn't stop himself from giggling. What do you see? Izuku asked. You'll find out later. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Tiger found Ragdoll. She was alive, but unresponsive. She'd be all right as Rain, once she got medical help. The stillness was broken, however. Best Genus did what he could to pull everyone away from danger, but that earned him a hole in the gut. Kiyo didn't register his surroundings until he opened his eyes. His clothes were frayed, and he could see where Midnight ended up. She didn't look hurt, but she was knocked out. A foreboding figure loomed over the downed heroes. Kiyo watched from behind a small section of wall that was miraculously still standing. This deep well of fear formed in his guts. This wasn't like any sort of villain he faced before. This was the devil incarnate. Sure, the Spitfire was worried about the villain, but he also was worried about the 6 teenagers that were also hiding behind the same wall. His eyes immediately landed on his son and former intern. Izuku and Kirishima could tell that Kiyo was disappointed and fearful. You 6 better not die doing whatever you plan to do here. There wasn't time to scold the students, as strange blobs appeared where the Nomu facility once stood. Between the poison, the attempted rescue, and coughing up gray slime, Shoto was heavily disoriented. The environment around him changed. Before him stood an intimidating figure.
Tamura, take care of the UA well. I'll deal with these heroes.
All for One didn't get the chance, as Gran Torino swiftly got the pros to safety. All Might appeared shortly after to face his old nemesis. With Dabi, Kurogiri, and Yitsuma unconscious, the remaining League members had to fight. Muscular charged in, raided a roughhouse. Todoroki was able to keep his feet under him, but he knew he didn't have it in him to protect himself from Muscular. Tongues of fire stopped the massive man's approach. Run, Shoto! The Spitfire quickly knocked out Compress and Magni before aiming to take down Spinner. Shoto ran as fast as he could as the other League members pursued him. Shigaraki didn't join the fight. He knew he had to protect Yitsuma and Kurogiri, despite his master's orders. You defeated Stain. I'll make sure to gut you slowly, Spinner said. You heard that? Then you must have heard that Stain considers me worthy. He might not be too happy to find out you killed me, Kiyo said. Spinner scowled as he swung his blade at his idol's usurper. The fight between All for One and All Might raged on, but that mattered not to the League. The adrenaline in his veins allowed Shoto to utilize his quirk once more. With fire as his sword and ice as his shield, Todoroki did what he could to protect himself against Muscular, Twice, and Toga. The UA student was able to observe the League's behavior during his capture, and he knew that these three were proficient in short-range fighting, but Twice had a razor whip. Facing that dangerous weapon like that alongside someone with Muscular wouldn't be easy. As the battles raged on, the fearful UA students talked through every possible plan they could do to save Shoto so the pros could fight at their hardest. Then, Midoriya remembered something. Just like their fathers, Izuku and Shoto had been working on callouts for double-team moves, and he knew exactly which one to use. I've got some tricks up my sleeve, but I'll need some help pulling it off. You're gonna rely on luck again, Fox Boy? In my experience, there's no such thing as luck. We'll prevail because we've got each other's backs. What's the plan, Midoriya? Kirishima asked. While Twice and Toga were fairly easy to keep at bay, Muscular was a different monster. Shoto watched the villain run through the flames without fear and smash through every ice wall he built. He was nigh unstoppable, and there was no way the half-and-half student could defeat him in this condition. Kiyo saw his nephew's situation. He had to help him, fast. Spinner swung at the hero again, but his wrist was grabbed. The fear in the reptile's eyes made Kiyo smirk. The Spitfire Dragon punched Spinner in the liver. With the Blade Master incapacitated, Kiyo took the sword. Muscular! Muscular turned just as Kiyo threw the blade. Spinner's weapon plunged into the villain's muscle fibers, but no blood was drawn. You killed the pro hero's water hose and attempted to murder children, including my son. You're gonna wish you turned yourself in by the time I'm done with you. Those are some brave words for a dead man! No, don't run off! Help us get my cutie back! Toga complained. With his companions left to deal with Shoto, Muscular faced Kiyo head-on while the pro dodged and observed. The fire breather knew deep down he didn't have the skill set to fight this raging bull. All Kiyo was hoping to do was buy time for the backup to arrive and for Shoto to get rescued. Kiyo thought to himself, Izuku, Shoto, I'm so proud of you both. I wish I'd said it more often. You have bright futures as heroes, so you'd better survive this hell so you can surpass your old men. What's wrong, little man? Where's that bravado from before? Provoking a dragon isn't very wise. Time to feel my wrath, Muscular! And that's our video for the day, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, there's a little bit of housekeeping I'd like to go over with you all. First, I want to thank some of our patrons. BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Meals, Adam Zadgel, Zill, Zavbeat03, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I also want to thank some of our YouTube members. Toy Acosta, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF2364 and Knuckles, Rimiu Tempest, Angel Juarez, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Greer, and Demonized Fox. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. So check it out if you're interested. Fourth, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone involved in today's awesome content production. Please give some love to the writer and the editors because they do a lot of great work here. Their details can be found in the description below. Send some love and say Tim sent me. Actually, don't do that. Send the love, but don't say, Tim sent me. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, back onto this. Finally, if you like what we do here with the Celestials, I want to extend an invitation to join our team. We have one caveat: you must be 16 years or older to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord in the description below. But that's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have an amazing day. And as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome. This has been Tim, Mustache out.